So Pippa has gained weight, a Garfield amount of weight, since we started free feeding her a few weeks ago. We mentioned we had to start free feeding our cats to ensure that Tilly got as many nutrients as she needed in the final weeks leading up to the birth. We've had to continue the free feeding for Tilly, and she's been eating multiple cans of wet food a day along with dry food, which is just fine with us because it helps her create more milk. And more milk means stronger babies. But Pippa, she just doesn't need to free feed. We mentioned earlier this week that we were pulling the free feeding options from Pippa and wanted to bring her closer to Tilly and the babies so she can acclimate to their presence, which we are doing, and continue to feed her in the basement where Tilly is held up. But the question now is, how much do we feed Pippa and what do we feed her? Now that she's used to coming down to the lower level for meals, we're pulling the dry food from Tilly as well and feeding exclusively wet food so we can control the portions of what Pippa is eating. There are a lot of resources out there that suggest you should only feed your cats wet food. And let's be realistic, this option is much more convenient. I don't think dry food is as bad as they say, and both of our cats actually prefer it to wet food, so I don't want to keep it from them entirely. The reason they like it so much, though, is because scientists have engineered the food to taste great, but that doesn't mean it's great for you. Kind of like Doritos. Are you eating Doritos on the couch?
Well, technically, I'm eating them on my belly.
Consider that cats get most of their moisture from their food. Also remember that cats originate from the desert regions. That's why it was so easy for civilizations like ancient Egypt to use them for rodent control. But the one thing that's absent in a desert is water. And it's partially why cats evolved not to like water.
Damn it. It was a mirage. An RC cola machine.
So most of the moisture they would get and that their bodies would need was from eating raw meat. Dry food, on the other hand, does not provide the cat with any moisture. So they might become dehydrated and have to drink plenty of actual water to stay healthy. The other problem some have with dry food is the extra stuff in it, like vegetables and grains that your cat wouldn't ordinarily eat. Cats are carnivores, so the majority of what they eat is meat, and if they're eating plants, it might be something like grass to help with their digestion. Cats have very sensitive stomachs, which is why if you're changing their food, even if it's to a different brand, it's best to mix it in with their current food to prevent upset stomachs and throwing up. But I have to ask myself, why is that? If you're telling me that cats eat meat and the label says chicken and another brand of wet food says chicken, then what's the problem? The problem is the same thing with the wet food that it is with the dry food. There's extra stuff in there that doesn't belong. However, the more pure your cat food is, the less the number of ingredients, the more expensive it becomes. And even that depends because there are greedy companies out there and they do slap a label on junk food to get more money. So I recommend reading the label if you're super concerned about it. I don't actually think it's something you need to be overly concerned about, but just make sure your cat food is more protein than fillers. And by fillers, I mean vegetables and grains. A mid-sized adult cat, which Pippa is, should weigh around 10 to 11 pounds to be at her fighting weight. And she should eat about 240 calories a day. We have thought about diet food for her and may need to consider that option if controlling the food she eats doesn't work. But for now though, we are portioning out the food. Our concern will come in if she starts trying to take food from Tilly or the baby, so we will have to watch her closely at meal times. This won't necessarily be her fault if she's hungry, which is why we won't put her on a diet right now. We don't want to add in any need for conflict, and a hungry cat could lead to bad interactions. So for now at least, we have to feed her the normal calorie diet so that she's full, without being Garfield full, and continue gaining weight.
And I also ordered an extra slice of pie. Because you know how many times we live, Brian?
Once. Once.
Anyway, I hope you learned something today. Stay tuned for more videos and subscribe to join the Pride. Scratch out some comments down below, use your mousey to share this video, and put your paws on that like button. Thanks!